order, and we're being flexible here. At the moment, we do not have a quorum, so we aren't able to take a vote on the action items that are on the agenda. And so we were really honored. Mayor O'Connell was planning on speaking about the upcoming, about a resolution we have on the upcoming agenda. He will be back next month, so we can take that up because we want to be sure we have a full quorum and full attention to that. So the items that we're going to discuss today will be information only for now, unless we get a fourth board member here. So that's where we are. So we're going to proceed with all of the content of the meeting. And that means I will start with roll call. So Ms. Jessica Dolphin.
Present.
I know that Aran is traveling, so he is not able to be here today, and Ms. Williams is under the weather, so that is where we are today. And we have our secretary, Margaret Bem, with us. Thank you, Margaret, for being here. So, okay, we'll need to skip the approval of the minutes as well, right? Okay, well then let's move on to the public comment period. And I have 3 speakers for today. And I will remind our speakers, we're so grateful for you to come and offer your input and feedback. And there is a 2-minute time limit, and you will be able to follow that on the screen. So with that, let me start with Roger Womack. Is Mr. Womack here? Hello, Mr. Womack. Thank you for being with us. I think we're going to bring a microphone to you, if that'll work for you. So here you go. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. My name is Roger Womack. I'd like to first thank the WEGO management and staff for listening to us last month when we had concerns about the on-demand tickets dropping from 80 to 40. Mm-hmm. And they changed their mind and have moved it up to or proposing to move it up to 100. The APEC committee and the people that use that service, we appreciate that, what they've done on that. Second, we, in July and September of last year, when we heard that there was going to be new providers and stuff, and there was never a mention of any fare changes or increases or anything at all. The APEC committee never was mentioned. There was no public comments. It wasn't put out to the public. And after y'all accepted the contracts, in March, we kind of found out that Uber would be different. We kind of found out about the $5 and the $30 WEGO would have. But then on June the 12th, when Marilyn was talking to the APEC committee, we finally found out at that time it would be for all 4 on-demand providers. That's kind of discouraging to find it out almost a year before they start the service in 2.5 weeks. Now it'll be 4 days, but it's kind of disrespectful to the committee. It's disrespectful to those that use that service. It's discriminating, and it was disregarded.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. That's the end of your time, but we're so grateful for you being here today. Let's see. Next up, we have Mr. Knight, Mr. Darius Knight. Welcome, Mr. Knight.
Good afternoon, everybody. My comments are about the service levels and safety. I've been an advocate since 2006. I have great concerns for this staff, these operators, the staff at Central. I have been down there multiple different times. It seems that many of the customers and operators appreciate MNPD for stepping it up, unlike the security service you all pay for, who continues to fail and not be where they should be On my way here, two of them were walking together, and they were down by the municipal auditorium. They are responsible for Central, not the municipal auditorium. The other issues that I want to address are the fact that many of your customers, Ms. Miller last month made a comment here and asked that the customers be aware of these things that are going on. They still have not been made aware of these issues. I've had to go and speak to the news media where in some instances they try to twist my words. So literally what I don't understand is you say you want transit for Nashville, you get a mayor that is actually willing to help us get there, and you drop the ball. Make it make sense. You have many of your own staff ready to walk off the job right now. I'm looking at you, Mr. CEO. They're blaming you. They're blaming you because they feel that you do not care. I was down at Central yesterday and saw you myself. Literally, what I don't understand is I had a high respect for you. I have lost it. I have lost respect for many of the executive staff because the customers and the staff are not getting their safety needs met. And I will not rest until this board here either does their job or they're replaced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Our final comment we have is from Mr. Hobbs, Mr. Barry Hobbs. Thank you for being here, Mr. Hobbs.
Thank you, and you're welcome. Now I'll get right to the point. All right. You need between 10 and 12 Metro cops at the transit center, 5 or 6 on both floors, to patrol the 4 waiting rooms and the outside areas. Over the years, the transit center has become a place for school kids and homeless. Now, supposedly there's a new rule in place that says that the school kids are allowed to be on the property, aforementioned, for a half an hour in between buses. After that, they got to go. I let them go home, let them go back home, let them go to school or to the library or the park. As for the homeless, they should be allowed to be there on the property 1 hour a day, 1 hour a night. Then they got to go either to the library while it's open or back to the missions, or God forbid the streets, or God forbid the woods and their camps. Back to the kids. It's time to bring back the truant officers from the old school days. Okay. Other than that, let's see, anything else? There have been reports on radio locally recently of beatings and stabbings at the bus stops. Okay. And you got knuckleheads riding the buses. All right, something needs to be done about that also. All right, undercover cops, whatever it takes. Okay. And other than that, all I have to say in my last 30 seconds is this. The service is cool. There's probably room for improvement, so do that. All right. Eventually, hopefully, you'll get the 24/7 bus service in the next few years. Okay. Keep up the good work, and please forward this to Mayor O'Connell as soon as possible, and the Metro Council as well, so that they can do their part in improving the service of the MTA, WeGo. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Hobbs. Right on time. Are there any public comments? Those were the ones I had a written sheet on. Does anybody else have a public comment they would like to make? Okay, if there's no additional comments, then we will close our public comment period. And again, thank you to all 3 of you for coming and voicing your concerns. We really do appreciate it. Okay, so next up, we have our information. I want to draw attention to the information only items that are in our board book. And these are routine reports that are distributed each month that are routine and are there for everybody's review. So I would hope everybody on the board has worked through those. I know I always do my homework the night before, Mr. Bland, and just wanted to draw your attention to the monthly financial report, the monthly operating statistics, and the upcoming procurement list. And as our friend Walter would always say, that procurement list is really important because we absolutely want the best and the most diverse vendors and companies in our procurement process. So thank you for taking a look at those. Next item is the consent agenda items, and these are items that have been pulled to, that are, again, very routine and that we have pulled onto the consent agenda. Jessica, is there something here that you would like to pull onto the regular monthly agenda?
No, I looked through it and I think the things are pretty standard in terms of contract renewal, stride,
Okay.
MOU, and MTA, RTA agreements, unless
Okay.
there's something that Steve would like to share.
Say we won't be able to act on them in the absence of a quorum, but if you or any of the, and I'll poll the other members as well. If anybody would like them polled next month when we take action, we can do that.
Okay, that's great. And I will remind everybody, anything that is an action item for today will be pulled to next month's agenda, and we know that the business will keep operating as planned with these items. Okay, thank you so much. Next up, item number 7 is our Operations and Finance Committee. And Jessica, I'm very sad, but there are no operating and finance items this month. Would you like to talk about something else? Is there something else on your mind, or are we good? Okay. Okay, with that, we will move on to the New Initiatives and Community Engagement Committee. And again, the first action item was a resolution for this board to support the Choose How You Move program that Mayor O'Connell and his team have put forth. I know there's been a lot of discussion in this group about how important this referendum is and this plan is for Nashville. And we'll be delighted to welcome Mayor O'Connell back here next month, because he really wants to speak to this group and to this audience about that plan. And so we will push that to next month's agenda and take the vote on that next month as well. Okay, next up, we have Mr. Bland with our proposed operating budget for FY 2025.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And there's probably some poetic justice in this. Shelley did a wonderful job with the written description of the budget trends and some of the anomalies that you're seeing in the budget presentation. We're obviously not able to act on the budget today, so we will defer to next month. I'll do a quick overview, but we'll also, next month, we'll have Shelley available to answer all the hard questions. Overall, the budget that we're proposing, and I would call your attention to page 31 of your board packet, where this information begins. Overall, the operating budget would increase in FY25 about $7.4 million over FY24. That's about 6.1% of the overall budget from last year. Major factors that are influencing that increase are general inflation, but also we have full year operation of the services that we started during the course of the last fiscal year, plus a full year of operation of the Dr. Ernest Rip Patton Jr. North Nashville Transit Center, which will be opening pretty shortly. Although our subsidy from Metro is increasing by $2,675,000, that's a good thing. The increase doesn't fully fund what our baseline service request was for this past year, but we are able to present a balanced budget that has no negative impact on customers, meaning that service levels will remain constant, fare levels will remain constant, but we will not be able to be in a position to expand more services during the upcoming fiscal year. The main reason means through which we're addressing the deficit is by deploying more of our federal formula capital money into preventive maintenance line items. And the main reason we're able to do that is because we did receive a very robust allocation from Metro under the capital spending plan that allowed us to pursue our full fleet replacement program. So essentially, federal money we might normally have applied toward the bus replacement program was picked up locally, so that sort of freed up those funds. But it is a structural issue that we'll need to address. Obviously, if the referendum were to pass, that kind of relieves that pressure. But one way or the other, we'll have to address it through next year's budget process. With respect to expenses, Shelley went through quite a few of the specific items. Major changes can be seen in the wage and employee benefits line items, reflecting both full year operation of services as well as cost of living and step increases that we anticipate in the upcoming year. The other large increase you see is in other services, and most of that is contained in our access subcontract provider contracts, as well as our security services contracts, and a large chunk of that is security services for the new transit center in North Nashville. With that, I'd say I'm happy to try to answer any questions you might have. Obviously, we're going to have to defer action on the budget until next month, and then I'm not going to strongly suggest, but I would suggest Shelley will be here, and so any of the tough questions, she'll be around to answer next month.
That is great. Jessica, any questions, comments?
So we're going to continue contracting with security, right?
I'm sorry?
The security line item, is that under other, so 97,000?
Yeah, if you look at on page,
I see it on page 32.
yep. Actually, yeah, or on page 35, actually, you'll see a specific line item on security services.
Thank you.
So the budget for FY24 for security was $2,477,220, and that goes up to a proposed $3,524,930 in FY25.
Thank you.
Increase of just over $1 million.
Great. I think we would all agree that appropriate security at the Rip Patton news station, the Hillsborough station, all of the stations are really, really important to this board, as well as the safety and security at Central. So I know there's been a lot of dialogue about that. I want this group to know that is absolutely top of mind for this board. It is as urgent an issue that has ever been before this board, and that we are taking that very seriously, having a lot of discussions with staff about that. So I just wanted to say that for the record. Any other questions or comments? I mean, my view of this is the last thing we ever want to do is cut service or raise fares. So I'm delighted that we can avoid that this year. But I think we are all very hopeful and hopefully optimistic that next year will be a year of massive expansion and kind of a whole new horizon for us. So we look forward to that. We can get through this year, I believe, but that's great. Okay, so with that, we will move on to the Dan Freudberg is going to come speak with us about the Access Improvement Study, public feedback, and policy recommendations. So welcome, Dan.
All right, thank you, and good afternoon. So, of course, this is listed as an action item in the agenda, but I'll just present this as information for now, and then so that it can be deferred to next month. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the staff recommendations as well. So, as a quick background, we have a number of significant changes coming to the Access on Demand program beginning July 1st, so next week, including policy updates such as fare changes, and also the addition of 2 new providers, Uber and a company called Z-Trip. One of these changes is also to replace the existing trip limits on the Access on Demand program, which are currently 2 trips per customer per day, with a monthly limit of 40 trips per month. And the reasoning behind this was to provide customers with more flexibility in how they use their trips throughout the month, while also limiting cost exposure to the agency in terms of potential increases over time for the program. So over the last month, we have heard a number of concerns from customers that utilize the program, as well as the Access Policy Advisory Committee, or APAC, specifically with regards to this change in trip limits. And we've reviewed those comments, and staff have developed a recommendation that we believe will address those concerns. And specifically, the recommendation from staff would be to set a trip cap of 100 rides per customer per month, as opposed to the originally proposed 40 trips per passenger per month. We should probably talk about potentially implementing this as a pilot, because technically the board action was to do 40 trips per month starting on July 1. So we may be able to do that in the interim and then have an official action next
Will that
month.
work, Steve? Okay, so we'll continue to, we'll start July 1 as planned, and then we'll just vote on it. We'll consider this month a pilot. Okay.
Just to clarify, what we typically do with service pilots, it's generally, and this is allowed by FTA, is that when there are changing operating conditions that kind of don't allow you to go through what I'll call the typical process.
Right.
COVID was a good example, maybe
That
an
was
extreme
pretty
example.
atypical, wasn't it? Yeah.
We're able to do things in pilot form for up to 6 months, but then we have to go through the normal
Okay,
process.
that's great news.
And of course, we've gone through that process, but just the formality of it. This will allow us to get to next month.
Sure.
So that's the recommendation. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'll start out, Jessica. To me, this is a great example, and I want to thank the APAC leadership for bringing this to us, because that original policy would have been an unintended consequence, and we know how important the access service is. And so I'm delighted that we were able to backtrack on that, because I know how important it is. And the public feedback made a whole lot of difference on that. So I just want to say thank you to the APAC leadership. Jessica, did you have a comment?
Is it still at 2 rides per person per day?
No, so it would be replaced with the monthly cap. So there would be no daily limit. Well, I suppose 100 trips a day. That would be impressive, but.
Okay. Because I was like, well, that math, it doesn't math. So I appreciate that.
Okay, great. Any other questions,
Well,
comments?
can I just say, also, I echo what Janet said about the public comment, bringing those concerns to the board was very helpful, and so I really appreciate that as well. If we don't hear about it from the customers, the riders, then we may not know about it.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we will take a formal vote on that, but for now, we will launch it July 1st as a pilot, and then we will take it up on the, what is next month? July? How did that happen? We'll take it up on the July agenda. And thank you, Dan, for working on that and getting us to the right place. We know that's the right place, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have our CEO's report. Mr. Bland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have a few items to report. We had a fair amount of conversation today about Mayor O'Connell's Choose How You Move program, and we've still continued and will continue to provide a fair amount of staff support to the program. The big event this upcoming week is the ordinance that would put it on the ballot is its second reading before council. So a number of our staff members, as well as the consultants who worked on the program, will be at the various council committee meetings on Monday and full council meeting on Tuesday to address any questions that the Metro Council might have. You heard me talk about our budget earlier in the meeting, but earlier this month, the Metro Council did adopt the operating budget for Metro Nashville for FY 24-25. And the council ultimately adopted the alternate budget proposed by Budget and Finance Chair Porterfield, but her budget did not make any change to the mayor's recommendations for our allocations. So essentially our appropriation went through as it was originally proposed by the mayor. Work continues to advance at North Nashville with major construction activities completed, and at this point the contractor activities are primarily on punch list items and addressing items that might be found on the various regulatory inspections that we undergo to get our full occupancy permit. So we do anticipate that we'll be beginning commissioning activities over the next month and a soft opening in July and targeting a dedication event sometime in August, and we'll be checking in with the members on schedules and dates for that. So if you've been over there lately, it's looking quite nice. Speaking of transit centers and development, earlier this month we received an unsolicited proposal from a development team through our unsolicited proposal process. So Kim Herford's our procurement managers in the audience. I want to thank Kim for her efforts on all of this. The proposal was from a developer of affordable housing who's working on a project in the Upper Dickerson Pike area that is very much in line with locations where we're trying to target regional and neighborhood transit centers. We conducted our initial assessment of their proposal, found it to be very viable, and in accordance with our procurement policies and the FTA regulations, that proposal is currently out for public comment. So I think folks have until July 15th. Is that the July 15th? If someone wants to submit comments or an alternate option, but we would expect at your July meeting to bring that to your attention. Continue to meet with the Titans, various city departments, and the East Bank Development Team to develop enhanced transit options for Titans games and other major events at the stadium. Katie Freudberg's been really busy at work with Metro Nashville Police and NDOT. We've experimented with a few of the large stadium events over the last month or two with dedicated lanes and enhanced reliability on transit access. Learned a lot in the first couple attempts, and now we think we're getting it down. So, in fact, we have a meeting tomorrow with that group to start to fine-tune plans, particularly as the upcoming football season begins. If you've been by there lately, a lot of places that used to be parking and tailgating are now dirt piles and construction cranes. So we'll definitely be anxious to work with everyone to make transit an enhanced option. We're currently working with Mayor O'Connell's office to commemorate the completion of our 300th sheltered bus stop.
Wow,
So that'll be another milestone. And I think I saw Lydia there she is in the back, and I know I saw Denise. So I really want to give particular shout outs to their teams because they are cranking out the sites. And actually, I thought I gave them a pretty aggressive target for this year, and they're beating it. So apparently it wasn't aggressive enough. I'll keep that in mind for next year.
Maybe they're better than you thought they were, Steve.
They're way better. They're top notch. So appreciate Lydia and Denise, you and your team's efforts, and we'll look forward to that celebration. It's one of those little things. It's not as major as the North Nashville Transit Center, but if it happens to be at your stop, it's a really important enhancement. Andy Burke and a number of our staff in operations and planning and et cetera have been working with Stantec on a zero emission fleet transition plan. I know I've talked to several of you about this individually. We're getting to a point where they have identified, what those underlying issues are, the pros and the cons, and what some of the operational and financial implications might be. So in conversations with Gail and with many of you, I think we're going to lean toward trying to do one of our workshop format type meetings over the next couple of months to present some of that information and probably open it up and invite in some of the other stakeholders that we know have an interest in this topic. So stay tuned for that. This past month, I participated as a panelist for an Urban Land Institute Power Hour to discuss the implications of Mayor O'Connell's Choose How You Move plan with respect to transit access and affordable housing specifically. So there was great participation, including participation by quite a few folks in the real estate development community, quite a few folks on our Metro Council, and very good dialogue among the participants. So we definitely think that's a conversation that will step up over the next few months. Earlier this week, I got to participate in the annual planning workshop of the Tennessee Public Transportation Association. We were up in Clarksville. And if you haven't been to Clarksville lately, it really is becoming quite something. So it really is becoming a major city. Well, major smaller city, but really nice amenities up there. This year I happen to be serving as president of TIPTA, and one of the things we do at that meeting is try to set a legislative agenda for the upcoming general session of the Assembly. As always, I'll close with a few of the RTA items. We are continuing to advance our Murfreesboro Park and Ride location, and we are continuing to wait for the Office of the Secretary of State to approve. The church that we're buying the property from has approved the transaction, but the Department of State has to sign off whenever there's that sort of an activity. Yesterday, in case you were wondering, all those consent agenda items between MTA and RTA that we're deferring till next month, at yesterday's meeting, the RTA Executive Committee approved all those, so once you approve them, we will be ready to go. And Hatch Engineering continues to advance our STAR Future Vision study. We've pretty much narrowed down to one preferred scenario that they are working on modeling with the railroad that controls the right-of-way. So we expect to be out for a final round of public engagement in Davidson and Wilson counties, probably, Felix isn't here, but probably sometime late July, early August. And unless there are any questions, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for Steve? Okay, let's see. chair's report. I found out I was chairing this meeting at about 5 after 1, so I really didn't prepare anything huge. I would be remiss without channeling our chair, Ms. Williams, and saying that we are so appreciative of just the hard work of the staff of MTA and WeGo. It's hot out there this time of year, and I think the drivers, everybody in the central station, everybody on the team is working really hard. And I think everybody understands what an important time this is for the city, that WeGo really operates beautifully. So I just want to thank the team for that. And I know that's exactly what Gail would be saying if she's here. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I'm personally really dedicated to the mayor's Choose How You Move plan. And so I'm really excited about his joining us next month and having this board officially go on record, we hope, we would imagine, with a formal resolution supporting the plan. I think it's a transformative thing for this community in 100 different ways. So we really look forward to that meeting. So with that, we thank everybody for being here today. We thank the public for coming and making your comments. And if there are no other items, then we are adjourned. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.